All right, all right, all right. By my watch, the clock has struck two. The clock has struck two. The clock has struck two. Do you know where your MUFON meeting is? It's right here. We're back live at the new Brighton Community Center. And I can pull off the slide and let's take a look who's in the room. So I want to welcome, we got a nice crowd here in the room. We got lots of familiar faces, got some new faces too. I want to welcome new and familiar faces. Look at that. We got people online too. Not a lot of people online, but we got people online too. So I want to thank you all for coming here. It's been a while since we've been out here, so I want to thank you all for being here. My name is Tom Maher. I'm the Minnesota MUFON State Director. And let's go back to the slides. I got lots of slides to show you, so let's hit some slides. There we go. Loving memory of Earl Grey Anderson, this came right out of the MUFON Journal, sharing a light in the UFO community, advanced investigations advocate and friend. So Earl was, at this angle, I can't read it, so there's a lot of stuff there, but this is in the MUFON Journal. Earl Anderson was a state director for California. Very cool guy. He passed recently. I met him a number of times at the symposiums. I chatted with him a little bit. I didn't know him a whole lot, but Anna Scott, she was very close to him. They got along very well. She was a big influence. They got along very well together. He was really a powerhouse in MUFON. He's on the ERT team, so of course Bill McNeff knows him, and Jared Nelson knows him, and Anna, of course, knows him. So yeah, so he passed away not too long ago. So yeah, very sad. So very nice little write-up for him in the MUFON Journal. So if you want to take a look at that MUFON Journal, it'll tell you all about Earl Grey Anderson and what a great guy he was. We want to make sure we acknowledge Earl Grey, and I will miss him at this year's symposium. And so this month's meeting is sponsored by Lance Uden. So Lance Uden sponsored our meeting. The sponsor, our monthly Zoom meeting is $14.50, or if you want to sponsor our joke of the month, it's only $10, or to just donate to Minnesota MUFON, you can contact Jan Swenson. You can go right to the back of the room and talk to Jan, or you can contact her at jan.swenson.pioneer@gmail.com. So that Zoom meeting, that covers this meeting we're having here, helps us with our board meeting. When we have field investigator trainings or any other meetings for MUFON, Minnesota MUFON, that $14.50 covers all that. So we certainly appreciate. Thank you, Lance, for your donation to cover our meeting this month. Oh yeah, give him a round of applause. That's worth a round of applause. Give him a round of applause. And we still appreciate your donations to continue to bring you programming every month. So MUFON members, we ask for $6 at the door. MUFON guests is $8, unless it's your first time. Your first time here is free. You get a freebie in the first time. Continue to support Minnesota MUFON and our programming. Contact again Jan Swenson at jan.swenson.pioneer@gmail.com. We accept PayPal, Zelle, credit cards, personal checks, and cash. And of course, as always, your kindness is appreciated. And you have been very kind to us. I want to make sure I acknowledge that because you really have been. So, scam likely. I'm not going to answer a scam likely in the middle of my meeting. So I can be heard on 95 KQDS radio in Duluth on the third Thursday of every month at approximately 8:40. Days and times change because scheduling changed, but that's when I'm scheduled to be there. And you can also hear the recordings at northlandmufon.com for more details on the recordings. And I was recently interviewed by a U of M journalism student about MUFON and ufology in Minnesota. He's interested in interviewing other Minnesota MUFON board members, field investigators, and members with general UFO stories. So if you want to get connected to him, you can email me at mufontom@epcoachtom.com for more details. Attention all field investigators, it's always a great day to log on to MUFON University. You're going to find your FI1 field training, such as basic photo video analysis, case dispositions. Once you clear that, you got your Field Investigator 2 training, such as typical Field Investigator kit, robotic missions to space. There you're under your FI3 training, such as entity cases, abduction cases. Then after that, you got leadership training, STAR training, and ERT trainings. A lot of stuff in there. There's so much stuff to go through in MUFON University. So if you're a field investigator, get in there and start reading that stuff and studying. It's a lot of great information. I found it. I've been a field investigator for a long time, but just going through all that stuff again was very helpful, very useful. I found a lot of value in it. And of course, if you're wondering about that, you can consider becoming a MUFON field investigator because you can help find us the answers. You can help witnesses understand what they saw. Let's turn off these lights here so I can see what's going on. You can help investigate cool cases. There you go. You can work with other investigators. You can do some on-site investigations. You can learn more about the local area. There's the camaraderie, and of course, be a part of the bigger picture. So, but why? Because the MUFON Symposium is coming up. My slides are out of order, but that's fine. The MUFON Symposium is coming up July 17th through the 20th. It's in Kentucky, Covington, Kentucky, but you fly into Cincinnati Airport, and that's right across the river from there. To this year, we're Hidden Truths, Modern Analysis of Lost Research, and they just announced their keynote speaker is Thomas Jane of Forbidden Planet. He writes about his, what does he write about his, I'm going to ask about consequences of accepting telepathy in human society. I'll explore the three main hypotheses of NIH, non-human intelligence, NHI. I can't read it, it's too small. So anyways, but I don't know, maybe you could read it on your screens at home, but yeah, so he's our keynote speaker, just got announced. And of course, they just announced this as well, the symposium live stream, Hidden Truths, Materials Unknown, The Reveal, Government Secrets Exposed, and Thomas Jane of Forbidden Worlds. So for the first time though, witness lab confirmed evidence of strange materials with properties that defy conventional science. They're showing this at the symposium, possibly linked to unknown technologies. They could be extraterrestrial origin, be part of the moment when history is made. So that's coming up at the symposium. I'm going to be there. I'm betting Jared's going to be there. All the cool kids are going to be there. So if you can make it down there, I strongly encourage you to get out to Covington, Kentucky. And not promoting anything, but if you are a bourbon and whiskey fan, you know, Kentucky, that's a good place for it. So definitely plays around there. Not that I would imbibe in any of that, but just in case that's an interest of yours, now you know. And Minnesota MUFON, we educate the public. Do you know a group that would enjoy a presentation from Minnesota MUFON? It could be a church group, book clubs, Lions clubs, benefactors clubs, Rotary clubs, science clubs, social clubs, Knights of Columbus, schools, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or other. We'd be happy to. We'll do that. We'll set up a presentation just for them. We'll go in and talk about MUFON and anything they want to know about ufology. We'd be happy to do that. Haven't done a lot lately, but we have done them in the past. It's always a good thing for us to do. And how do you become a member of Minnesota MUFON? Well, it's easy. You just become a member of MUFON. When you become a member of MUFON and put in a Minnesota address, you're automatically in the Minnesota chapter. So that's that easy. So, but did you know there's actually 2 chapters in Minnesota, and you'd actually be a part of both. So Minnesota MUFON, or Southern Minnesota, meets in the Twin Cities like we're doing right now and online. We do all the assigning of the cases. Then there's Northland MUFON, which is northern Minnesota and all of North Dakota. They meet in Fargo and Grand Rapids at the same time. They do a video Zoom thing too, and they do it online. So more information on that, you can go to northlandmufon.com for more information. And for membership, we've got a cool opportunities. This is relatively new. You can become a monthly member of either basic, enhanced. So we used to not have monthly memberships. Now we've got the year memberships for basic, enhanced memberships, and the VIP and researcher level. So you've got a wide variety of options. I think the monthly ones are kind of cool because if you haven't joined MUFON, you're not sure it's for you, you're not sure what you're going to get, try it out for a month. If you like it, cool, add some more. But if you don't like it, it's only 1 month commitment. So you should be able to manage that without too much pain. And of course, here's our basic membership. You get the membership card, the MUFON Journal, e-journal, all email updates. You can get the hard copy journal for an additional $29 for the hard copy, but just the basic will get you the e-journal, which is very cool as well. Then of course our enhanced membership is everything that the basic gets. Plus you get a live stream of the annual symposium. You get the hard copy journal, I believe. You get the members only section of the website. You're going to get a free ebook, UFO Crash Retrievals of the Third Kind by Michael Schratt, access to the Observer Network, MUFON's new social network for members only, access to our new state-of-the-art, ever-evolving UFO sighting graphical map available nowhere else. And of course, our VIP membership gets everything that the first 2 memberships get. Now, it doesn't include the Field Investigator Manual or the training, but you get the official membership lanyard, you get all the ebook, same ebook, access to the on-demand TV, including a live stream of the symposium, members only section, regular updates. Yeah, so you get a lot of stuff with that. Lots of tchotchkes. You get hats and stickers and journals, so Tumblr. Then of course the researcher member. This is an expensive one, almost $400 per year. And that one also does not include the Field Investigator Manual or the training. You get everything with all the other ones, but it looks like you get access to Mars. Now, I'll talk about Mars a little bit more in a second. Vast news clippings and protocols. The Tumblr, I know MUFON sticker, access to the Observer Network site. And then to explore the various MUFON membership opportunities or to become a MUFON member, go to MUFON.com/join, or just go to MUFON.com. There's a big join button there. Click on the join button. That'll take you where you need to go. And speaking of the journal, this is our current journal. This is the May journal, Not Seeing the Star Cloud for the Stars. So they've also got mystery airplanes and UFOs, and do ETs have another edge? So that's what's in our current journal. So, and we'll show you some of what the older journals look like. This is an all color journal. It used to be all black and white. This one's all color. So very cool, very nice journals. And we've got some examples of them back there too. If you want to take a look during the break, got some examples of the all color journals back there. So. Monthly Sky Watch. So this is what it was one of the things you get in the journal, but I like to share it with you guys anyways. On May 3rd, there was a conjunction of the moon and Mars. On the 6th through the 7th, there was an Eta Aquinids meteor shower, 60 per hour. And on April 19th to 26th, the high visibility in the Southern Hemisphere. On the 12th, we've got a full moon, known in the Native American tradition as the flower moon. On the 22nd, we have a conjunction of Mars and Saturn. On the 22nd, conjunction of Mars and Venus. And new moon on the 27th. And on the 31st, we have Venus at its greatest elongation. So that's what's happening in the sky this month. MUFON membership. Oh, look, we're at an all-time low. We're at 62. We just keep dropping. Was it something I said? Was it me? Is it me? Is that why we're in our membership going down? Can't be something I said, was it? Come on, we're at 62. Jared, my assistant state director, he was so happy when we broke 100. Just over a year ago, we were at our peak point of 102. Jared was so looking forward to us hitting 200. Now we're at 62. But Jared will get over it. He's a tough guy. So, but anyways, if you're considering becoming a member, you can join for a month and test it out, and then we'd love to have you as a regular member. So help us get that number back up into the triple digits would be a good place to start. So we're excited to announce the Project Aquarius Digital Library. So this is all digital. So this is all online. There's 7 different digital rooms. There's a fee for all of them except for one. One room is free to the public right now, but everything else there's a fee, and I'll talk about the fee later. But you get so much when you purchase a 1-year subscription to the Aquarius Digital Library. So let's look at that. So this is possibly the largest online UFO UAP library in existence. All sorts of stuff from private collections, interactive maps, other type of media regarding UFO and UAP phenomenon. And MUFON spent decades putting this all together with stuff never before available to the public. It took other UFO groups, private citizens, and many volunteers to put this all together. MUFON thanks all of you. And really, because that's one thing I would hear many times in the past would be people would tell me, MUFON's got all this information. They've got all this data. They know all. Why are they not sharing it with the public? Why aren't they letting the public know what they've got? Now we're letting you know what we got. So I'm going to show you what we're letting you know what we got. So you get access to it. The Mars is the MUFON Archive Research and Reporting System. We've got over 6,000 pages of reports from 1967 through 1995, and we're trying to get current. So it's probably 1995 is probably outdated. It's probably more current than that by now, but so you can get access to all that. And of course, sensitive information has been redacted, but other than that, you get the details. Our witness sketch gallery, we got witness submissions from over 7,000 illustrations for over 139,000 report database. And I got to admit, this is an exceptionally good sketch. They're not all this good, but this is a really cool sketch. And there's even the sketches that aren't good still have a lot of information. There was a Minnesota case too. I've talked about this before. There's a Minnesota case where the guy basically his short description was, I saw the Starship Enterprise, and he submitted a sketch to it. And what he sketched did look a lot like the Starship Enterprise. So that's in there. You can see that in the sketch library. So yeah, sketch gallery, very cool stuff. But you can get a look at all the different sketches. And now they're telling us field investigators, we're encouraging our witnesses to also submit sketches so we can keep adding to the sketch gallery. So it's very, because the more information you get, whether it's audio or written or visual, like sketches and drawings, you're getting it really, really helps paint the picture, which is really good. So the sketch gallery is very cool. And of course, this one is free to the public. This is a public domain library, so you don't need to subscribe to that. It's currently got over 8,867 articles from APRO, the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, files and bulletins, historical accounts of orbs, and general info articles from newspapers. So this one goes back to that's 1953, I think, February 1953. So you can see all sorts of stuff. You don't need to search the internet going everywhere trying to find old newspaper articles and stuff for UFO stuff. You can go right to this news clippings gallery. That one's no subscription necessary. You can check it out right now if you want to. And here's one of our old journals of black and white. They used to be all black and white. They'd have sketches and stuff like this, but so we had all the journals from 1967 through 2010. I'm betting they've been updated since then. I bet we're more current than that, but that's at least when they announced it, when they launched it. That's, you can go back, look at all the journals, who was writing for us. If you're a fan of Stanton Friedman was a regular contributor to our journal. So you can see Stanton Friedman articles, what was going on in ufology, what was going on in MUFON. You can check out all that fun stuff. And of course, the collection from private researchers from CAA will launch in stages. Collections will include stuff from Bob Pratt, Colonel Edward Ruppelt, Leonard Stringfield, and Minnesota MUFON's own Craig Lang here. His stuff is still sitting in my den, so it's not in the library yet, but we're working on getting it to the library so Craig's stuff can be added to that. But you get to see all the information from these guys' private collections. And a lot of Craig's stuff, he was a hypnotherapist. He did a lot of hypnoregression with abductees. So we've got lots of recordings. I'm not sure how they're gonna get the recordings on. They'll probably do like audio files on it. But yeah, so he's got a lot of stuff on his abduction or regression or stuff. So yeah, lots of cool stuff in all those. And of course, all the MUFON Symposium proceedings from 1971 through 2002. And I'm sure they're adding more of them and more of them. So this is really cool because if you've never been to a symposium, or if you want to know what was hot in ufology back in those days, or who was speaking at our symposiums in the past, what were the topics they're talking about, you get access to all of our symposium proceedings. So that's very cool. And of course, our UFO report map. So this is a multi-level interactive UFO map, including MUFON sightings, as well as reports from other UFO UAP reporting organizations around the world. I think this one was from this image is from UFOstalker.com. So we got all that stuff in there. So you can just spend all kinds of time looking at reports and sightings from around the world. So, so this card costs $50. This says it's $100, but it's now on sale for $50. It's been on sale for a while. I think that's the real price, but they're just putting it like that to sell it. But it's good for a full year. So for a full year, you get to look at all that stuff. I mean, it's just for $50 for a full year, looking at this stuff, you're just getting so much information for your money. It's just really, really great thing. I strongly encourage you to check that out. So are you a MUFON member? Or are you interested in participating in Minnesota MUFON in a bigger way? Interested in working closer with Minnesota MUFON leadership? Do you have some technology experience, or would you like some? Are you a people person? Minnesota MUFON is looking for a few volunteers to support us with various tasks. You can help make Minnesota MUFON an even better chapter. Interested parties can speak to me or email me at mufontom@epcoachtom.com for more details. I think we need to adjust a little V on that because I'm cutting off the top and the bottom, but if it's
What's not on the Zoom?
I think it's on the projector, but anyways. So and actually too, we're back here in person. Big thanks being back here in person for Peter and Eric. Peter and Eric, we spent 3 hours last week at another location, setting up the equipment, getting things working. So when they can't be here, we can't be here because I need people like Peter and Eric. Let's give them a big round of applause though for helping us out. So. But Peter and Eric are just 2 guys. I'd like to have like 6 guys. We only need 2 per meeting, but if I have 6 guys trained in who can do this stuff, then they don't have to be here every time. So if you're looking to volunteer, you know a little about computers and Zoom and stuff, that'd be great. We can also teach you. So yeah, we're always looking for volunteers, and of course, board positions and stuff. So yeah, let us know if you got interested in any of that. And the Minnesota MUFON Symposium Fund. So MUFON requires chapter representation at the annual symposium, and our board of directors is elected to establish a fund to send a representative. So to donate to that, contact Jan Swenson at jan.swenson.pioneer@gmail.com. And of course, we appreciate your donations. So here's where we are right now. So because we paid our dues, there's no fee for the symposium for me. But the field investigator training is another $100. And when I go to the training, I take notes, I come back, I train our field investigators on what that is. Airfare costs me just under $240, and the hotels are just a little over $1,100. So a total of $1,472.97. Depending on airfare and hotels. We've already raised $500. It leaves $972.97 left. So I know I threw in a bunch to the 500. I know the board threw in a bunch to the 500. But if you want to help us wipe out the remaining $972.97, we would certainly appreciate that. So what do we got? And we'd like to thank all the people who've donated in the past few months, because really you guys have been very generous to us. You've always given. When we ask you guys, you always step up. We do appreciate that. We want to thank you for that. I don't want you to think that goes unrecognized or unnoticed. So we are on social media. So you can find us on Facebook and Facebook groups MN MUFON. On YouTube, you can find us at Minnesota MUFON. And on Instagram, you can find us MN MUFON. And we are on Meetup. But on Meetup, we're the Twin Cities UFO Research and Investigations Meetup. So name's a little bit different on Meetup, but you can find us out there. That is us. So that's good for especially Facebook and Meetup, finding out who the speakers are, where we're meeting, are we in person or are we online only? So it gives you that details and stuff. Any changes, Meetup and Facebook are great for that. And of course, join our email list. Jan can help you join our email list back there too. Now, those are the ways to keep up with what we're doing. If you need to contact me, you can reach me via email at mufontom@epcoachtom.com. And make sure to check out the Northland MUFON site at www.northlandmufon.com. And of course, don't forget to check out the global website at www.mufon.com. So let's see what we got here. Speaking of Northland MUFON, here's what it looks like: a UFO research journey of discovery. And actually, my assistant state director, Jared Nelson, has done so much work on this site. This is all his work. So we should give Jared a big round of applause. I know he's on the videos.
Thank you, Jared.
He's Jer is the main reason why this chapter, or this chapter looks so good, but also this website looks so good too. Jer makes our chapter look good and our website. So a MUFON website, you can learn more about the Minnesota MUFON and the Northland MUFON beginnings. Thanks to Tori Nelson. Tori Nelson sitting right. Where did Tori go? Oh, Tori's right there. Let's give Tori a big round of applause. He's been digging into it because Minnesota MUFON actually has a longer history than MUFON does, which is kind of cool. I would have not known that if Tori wasn't digging into our history. So I want to thank Tori for that. We've got over 120 videos on there from Bob Schultz. If you know Bob Schultz, he's a public access legend here in the Twin Cities. He's and we've got 400 plus anticipated, including past TV shows where Bob is a part of, many years of the International UFO Congress, learn about upcoming meetings and speakers, Zoom links for meetings, recaps, years of historical Minnesota MUFON journals. Minnesota MUFON used to have its own journal, not anymore, but we did at one time. So that's all out there. Fascinating UFO related articles and videos. Watch past meetings from both Minnesota and Northland. Listen to past recordings of me on KQDS and Minnesota MUFON's sighting statistics and so much more, including we're looking for more content. So if you've want to contribute an article or a story, post a picture of you and an ET up close and personal. If you've got one, we want to see it. Perhaps you have suggestions of what should be on the website. Let us know. The site will only be as good as we make it, and together we can make it one of the premier websites for ufology out there. Contact Northland MUFON info@gmail.com or mnmufonjer@yahoo.com. And actually, so there's the state level, then we go up to the global level, and there's our state directors and stuff. Above that, we have chief investigators that are above that. And our chief investigator over the entire United States, he came out and saw the Northland MUFON site. He had to call me and tell me he could not get over how good the site was. He said he's seen a lot of different MUFON sites. He said this Northland site was like the best MUFON site he'd ever seen. He was so impressed by that. So.
Somebody said it stays near the microphone.
Oh, stay near the microphone? That could be. But then, yeah. I don't know if that helps or not. I don't know if is it still pointing at me or no? I'll try that. See if that does it. So. Gotcha. So, okay. Let's see. So, no, I'm not clicking anymore.
Much better,
Is it much better? I'm still not clicking.
because I stopped.
Okay. Our joke of the month. We're doing another Star Wars joke this month. So we do Star Wars jokes, we do Star Trek jokes, we do generic jokes. But I came across a whole treasure trove of Star Wars jokes. We're going to get Star Wars jokes for a little while. But this Star Wars joke is brought to you by MarsCon Sci-Fi of Yesteryear. It takes place on March 6th, 7th, and 8th, 2026 at the Hilton Minneapolis St. Paul Airport, Mall of America. And so it's Sci-Fi of Yesteryear, and that's at 3800 American Boulevard East in Bloomington, 55425. Go to marscon.org for more details. And MarsCon is a fan-run science fiction convention for all ages held every March in the Twin Cities area. At MarsCon, you're going to find panel discussions, gaming, parties, guest of honor presentations, music of many kinds, an art show, film anime room, a science room, dealer's room, a charity auction, and masquerade. But wait, there's more! Their Con and a Con comedy music track attracts performers and listeners from across the country. It's a veritable smorgasbord of sci-fi, fun, and adventure. Various ticket packages available. Go to marscon.org for more details. I've been speaking there the past couple of years. This past year, a couple months ago when I was at it, great presentation. They're actually, I'm going to try to get there on Friday night this time, see if I can do a good presentation to the Friday night crowd. But there's really, you buy a ticket for the full weekend, you can't see everything. Because while something's happening here, something's happening over there, something's happening over there, there's so much stuff, and you just pick and choose what you want to go to. It's a lot of fun. Oh, and Joe was saying 10 rooms, and 10
Program track.
10 program tracks. So there could be as many as 10 things going on anywhere at any time. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do, and trust me. And like I said, I'll, talk about a little bit. When I was there a couple of years ago, I met one of the Jawas from the 77 Star Wars movie. I met the woman who's currently playing R2-D2 in what's she in, Boba Fett or something like that, or the Mandalorian. So yeah, cool people show up there. So that was kind of fun meeting R2. I told her, you look so much different when you're without your makeup on. So of course, so she got a kick out of that. So that was fun. Our joke of the month. What sound does Yoda's sheep make? If you're online, if you think you know, put in the chat. Eric's watching the chat. Anyone in the room? What sound does Yoda's sheep make? What's that? Abba? No, Joe had his hand up.
No,
Oh, that was Abba? Abba's not bad. Yes.
Dagobah.
Oh, we got it. Dagobah. We got somebody in the room got it. Very cool. No, we had some every once in a while someone gets one, but
Your first time here?
his first time here, yeah. Our first time showing up, you could show up for the first time and you could guess a joke. What's that?
Give him some candy.
Yeah, give him some candy, get him a donut, get him some cookies or something. Yeah, feed that man back there. So, So if you'd like to sponsor the Minnesota MUFON Joke of the Month, or if you want to submit a joke to the Minnesota MUFON Joke of the Month, because I have had people send me jokes and I've used them if they're good, and they're best if they're question answer form, but I'll use your joke. Submit your request to MUFONTom@epcoachtom.com. And so now we're going to go back to, we're going to kill the slides for now. So we're going to go back to here. So let's see. So MUFON has three goals. So our first goal is we investigate UFO. Oh, actually, I should talk about our mission first. Our mission is a scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. That's our mission. Our goals, we have three goals. Our number one, we investigate UFO sightings and collect the data in the MUFON database for use by researchers worldwide. Our second goal, we promote research on UFOs to discover the true nature of the phenomenon with an eye towards scientific breakthroughs and improving life on our planet. And goal number three, we educate the public on the UFO phenomenon and its potential impact on society. Oh, there we go. Okay. MUFON's global rankings. So this is the stuff that comes in, these reports we receive from around the world, global rankings from April 12th, the date of our last meeting, through yesterday. So I want to try to give you the most current stuff. So United States, we had 290, Australia 43, United Kingdom 14, going all the way down to Qatar with 1, Russian Federation with 1, Sudan with 1, Thailand is 1, for like 418. That's like really, for new people, that's really low. We usually get at least twice that much in a month period. We usually get in the 900 range. Sometimes we break 1,000. So this is really low. And we're going to see low numbers throughout other things we look at today too. So rankings by state. This is interesting too, because Arizona had what, 29, and but the one thing that's interesting is we had 5, which is a little low for us. We usually get about 6 to 8, so 5 is a little bit low. But look at New York. New York had 4. Whereas New York had 4. New York is usually one of the top ones up there. They're usually one of the top state, or if not one of the top one, like the top 3 or 4. So having New York lower than us is very unusual. So it's very, yes, Ivor.
They've had a lot of bad weather in the northeast.
That could be keep them, and that's the thing, it keeps people inside. We don't get as many sightings in that. So we got this. Let's go to a MUFON shapes reported. Spheres, we had 84, cones, we had 55, others we had 36, ovals 25, going all the way down, 4 boomerangs, 3 Saturn, like 3 crosses, 3 bullets and missiles, 2 eggs, 1 NA or 2 NA, 1 teardrop, and 1 cone. So that's the shapes that were reported during that time. And of course, the stats, I love the stats. So we had 43 reports that were less than 100 feet away. We had 40 reports that were 101 feet to 500 feet. 61 reports were 501 feet to a mile. 78 were over a mile away. 43 they didn't know, and 64 simply listed no value. There were 11 landings, hoverings, or takeoffs reported, and 18 entities observed. So the landings, hoverings, and takeoffs, I think that's pretty normal. 18 entities observed. That's a low number. That used to be an average number, but the past few years, it's been about twice that. It's been in the mid-30s. So having us again, it could be the weather. Who knows what that is? But yeah, people saw 18 entities in the past month. So that's always, I love seeing the entities that are observed, because it's like, it's really, really hard to dispute that. Ivor.
So is there a correlation between the number of reports of entities observed and the distance? Do you know that?
I don't know that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, not a problem.
Look into it.
Yep. Because sometimes you'll see that there'll be a craft and they can see windows, they can see entities in the craft, and that could be beyond 100 feet, or, but yeah.
Right.
But no,
if they're saying they saw an entity over a mile, then you would want to question that.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Yep. But yeah, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay,
But
I'll look into it. Thank you.
Yep. And so, of course, a little bit about MUFON. So now we're going back. So we're going back to my announcements. So behind the scenes, because there is a behind the scenes. Why? Because I don't run this whole place by myself. So Minnesota MUFON meets on the 2nd Saturday of every month. We're always online. Sometimes we're in person, like this month we're in person and online, so which is cool. But we're considering we might try to find a cheaper venue. We had some opportunities on options. I haven't brought any of that up to the board yet. So as far as we know, we're still, when we're in person, we're going to hear unless something changes. Remember I said, check Facebook, check Meetup, watch your emails. We'll let you know if our location changes. But right now, we hope to be in person as much as we can. So, because we like seeing you people. We miss you people. We're good people. That's why we want to be in person here. So yeah. Let's see. So starting times may vary. We generally try to quote unquote open the room at 1, start the meeting at 2. But there has been instances where we've had lots of content. We've had to back up the start time a little bit to 1:45 or 1:30. Again, watch Facebook, watch Meetup, watch your emails for that in case we do change the time a little bit. So like I said, I don't do this all by myself. I have lots and lots and lots of help. The one guy who helps me a lot is Jared Nelson. He's my assistant state director. He's online. So Jared, wave to the camera. Let's give Jared a big round of applause because Jared did such a great job. So he's my assistant state director. He's on the ERT team, and I'll talk about ERT in a little bit. And he's also our director of communications. When he sends out the e-blasts and stuff, he also does the Northland MUFON site. He does our YouTube page. So he does so much for us. It's just he's great to have on board. So, and he couldn't be with us here today, but our chief investigator and secretary and on the ERT team, Mr. Bill McNeff. Let's give Bill a big round of applause. I don't know if Bill's online. Is Bill online? Yeah, so if you've been around for a while, you definitely know Bill McNeff. And of course, back in the room, she's helping you check in. She is our treasurer. Give Jan Swenson a big round of applause. And our membership director right over here, Mr. Ivor Metz. Give Ivor a big round of applause. So if you're here in the room today and you're not a member, you want to know more about being a member, Ivor Metz, he's our membership guy. You talk to him about becoming a member. He'd be happy to help you out. We're still looking for a programming coordinator. So if you're interested in helping out the board, that'd be a great way to do it. So today's meeting, we're going to have What's Up in Minnesota. So What's Up in Minnesota is where I talk about Minnesota cases that either came in the past month or they've completed in the past month. You've seen them in previous months, but they've completed now. So we'll look at them. And today we got a speaker, Kevin Briggs. Kevin Briggs is out of Florida. He's speaking on spiritual consciousness, a personal journey. So we're hoping Kevin Briggs will be here. He'll be a great presentation. Our upcoming meetings, we always start off with What's Up in Minnesota. So you'll always get news on the current cases in Minnesota. I've got so many speakers lined up, but I don't have them slotted into particular months yet. So our potential speakers coming up, Charles Feifel. He's an actual Minnesota MUFON. He's a Minnesota guy. He's come to the meetings. He's had a lot of interesting experiences. We're going to get Charles up here. Joe Swenson in the back here. Joe may take up 2 meetings. Joe's topic is, I was a military lab rat. So Joe's going to talk about that. And speaking of that, if you are interested, Joe's got a whole bunch of his books on flash drive right at the table back here for sale. $20 for the flash drive. All the money goes to Minnesota MUFON. So Joe is donating all that to Minnesota MUFON. If you want to hear about Joe's I'm a military lab rat and frequency healing and CAM, it's all on these flash drives. $20 will get you there. So of course, Minnesota MUFON. We want to thank Joe for that. It's very generous of Joe. And let's see. So, and now some big names. Mark D'Antonio has agreed to speak to us. So you watch all the UFO shows, the photograph analysis expert, Mark D'Antonio, he's agreed to talk to us. Jesse Marcel has agreed to talk to us, which is very cool. I know, Jesse Marcel. What's that? Not the senior, the younger one. So yeah, I contacted him. Well, I'm on vacation with my family right now. Can I talk to you when I get back? Yes, just enjoy your vacation with your family. I'll still be here when you get back. So Jesse Marcel will be speaking to us. Anniversary Feinstein. We saw Seth, her husband, a couple months ago. So now the better half, Anniversary, will be speaking to us. And David McDonald, who is supposed to be here today, he'll be with us too. So yeah, Minnesota or MUFON's executive director. So we got lots of good speakers. Got to get them all slotted in their correct spots. And of course, if you're here last December, we had Debbie Ziegelmeyer. Debbie Ziegelmeyer is our annual December presenter. So she'll be here in December. So looking forward to that. She did a great job last December. Just fantastic. So, we talked about Minnesota MUFON's YouTube channel. We got a YouTube channel. It has over 1,750 videos. We've got about 1,750 subscribers, not videos, Jer. Sorry, Jer. Didn't mean to freak you out. Not videos, subscribers. Over 1,750 subscribers, 76 videos. Videos of people that came and spoke here in Minnesota, such as Paula Harris. Ken Storch was here in person. We got that on there. Sherry Wild was here in person. Ted Phillips was here in person. Grant Cameron was here in person. Minnesota MUFON members, like I said, Joe Swenson is on there. Craig Lang, who you saw previously, was an experiencer panel. Some What's Up in Minnesota, all sorts of other stuff. So that's on our YouTube channel. So check that out. Let's go on to What's Up in Minnesota. So again, this is the reports, the activity that's happened in Minnesota from April 12th, the date of our last meeting, through yesterday. So we're going to start off with updates. So these are cases you've seen in the past that weren't completed, that are now completed. We're going to tell you how they closed out. Then there's going to be brand new cases that have come in that you haven't seen before. So we're going to talk about that. And actually, interesting too. Remember I said we had 5 cases, and even saying 5 cases this month is a little misleading. And I'll talk about why it's misleading here in just a few minutes. So first we're going to start off with our updates. Our updates was case number 141460 took place in March 8th of 2025. AN4 took place in Victoria, which is in Carver County. And actually, yeah, so remember Victoria, Carver County, that's going to come up a little bit later in the meeting too. So looking at night vision goggles, took 3 months to figure it out, picked up some spots, couldn't get them into focus. Bill Anding was working on that one. Let's see what Bill came up with on that one. And I don't know why he submitted this picture. It's obviously from Booker magazine. I try to show you guys everything that I can on the cases. The witness attached this photograph to it for some reason. I don't know who that is or why he put it in there, but I'm just trying to be fully transparent. That's the photo that he attached to his case. Complete unknown UAV. So the witness seemed very credible and articulate. I believe that he believes that he saw exactly what he has reported. I have no explanation for the event. By definition, this is an unknown UAV. Again, case number 141616-U-E. So I call the U and the E, there's different letters that they can put on after the cases. I don't know if MUFON has an actual term for them. I call them qualifiers. They tell me a little bit about the quality of the case. So U stands for a UFO, E stands for entity, A stands for abduction, and EQ stands for experience or questionnaire. So cases could have all 4 or 1. Occasionally they'll have none, but they usually have a U. But so that's what that stands for. Took place on March 24th. Again, Victoria, Carver County. Keep that. I'm going to keep saying that. You're going to hear that a lot. So all he said for his short description is, what are they? His detailed description, he said, I use night vision goggles, see transparent shaped donuts and bubbles. Cannot see them every night. Bill Andig was assigned to that. And he's completed unknown UAV. Please see report, the previous report. So same witness. Got the same witness here. Case number 141737-U took place on March 31st. Moose Lake, which is in Carleton County, MA1. Several sightings of several UFEPs over the past few years. Very dark skies. Steve Hero was working on this. Steve's one of our great longtime field investigators from the northern part of Minnesota. He determined it's a completed as an unknown other. So it's not an unknown UAV, unidentified aerial vehicle. He can't tell exactly what it is. So Steve says, I eliminated any commercial type of aircraft because of the unusual movements of the object. The witness said that it moved too fast and too erratic to be a drone. She seemed to be able to differentiate between objects in the sky. The perceived shape shifting and color changes could be the effects of atmospheric scintillation, bending of light waves due to atmospheric conditions. Also, I think it is unlikely that this could be a drone because of the rural location and the sightings occurred. Her description was orb-like and somewhat transparent. Disposition, unknown other, STH, Steve Hero, field investigator. So thank you, Steve, for your work on that. Case number 141741-U took place on March 29th of this year. Clements in Redwood County. Light anomaly on the 29th. Jamie Flood. Jamie Flood, she's one of our new field investigators, and she is doing a bang-up job. Jamie, I don't think you're watching, but Jamie, if you see this, kudos to you. Let's give Jamie a big round of applause because she's doing a wonderful job for us. Very thorough, very detail oriented, always good work from Jamie. So, and I think Jared's been helping train her too. So another tip of the hat to Jared for helping train Jamie. So it's a great job. So she determined completed IFO man-made object. So the witness indicates that there was a light anomaly which became visible on the live view video screen connected to her exterior surveillance camera. At one point, after seeing the light anomaly on the live view video screen, she went outside and could not see or hear anything. She began recording and submitted 5 videos of the light anomaly taken by this exterior surveillance camera. Witness did not respond to my initial email requesting a phone call to further discuss her observations. Upon review of the witness videos, it was determined that the light anomaly was a result of a lens flare originating from the nearest brightest street light. Witness was advised of findings that the light anomaly was a lens flare. Additionally advised witness that differing atmosphere weather conditions could affect the appearance of a lens flare, as could anything present in the lens itself, such as moisture or dust. Advised witness if she cannot see the anomaly with her own eyes and is only present when viewing through the camera is a good indication of a lens flare or camera artifact. No response from the witness as of the time of the closing of this case. And I was just going to say that because so lens flares, when you see it in the camera, but you go like this and it's not there, it's probably an artifact. Not necessarily, because if your camera's on like infrared or something like that, you'll see it in the camera, but maybe not outside. But if it's like regular light, a lot of times if it's in the camera, but not with your own eye, is a problem with it. And lens flares come up a lot. So lens flare, for those who don't know, is you're taking a picture with the camera and there's a source of light that's very bright. It can be in the camera view or it can be outside the camera view, but it's much brighter than the background light. And so the light from this very bright source comes into the camera. It starts bouncing around in the lenses and creates a little ball on the view you see. It's usually like a bluish green ball too. It's pretty consistent. I even had someone write in, they said, oh, it's bluish green because this type of coating that they put on the lens of this is why it reflects blue-green. But so, yeah, so we see lens flares a lot. And you guys are getting pretty good. When I show you pictures, a lot of you go, yep, lens, you know a lens flare when you see, because once you kind of see them and get a feel for them, you'll know what they are. So thank you, Jamie, for your wonderful work on that case. Case number 140750-U took place on December 1st of 2012. So that one's got a few years on it. Sphere was seen in Walnut Grove. Maybe they're looking for Laura and Pa out there. So black object. Bill McNeff was working on that. Let's see what Bill McNeff came up with. 4-foot roundish, but not perfectly round object in the center of the road. Yeah, 10 miles per hour. Completed unknown UAV. Finding witness told of a number of experiences, most of which have parallels with other cases. The account of approaching an object while driving, experiencing a time lapse is common. Witness told of his experiences in a calm, matter-of-fact way, giving an impression of total honesty and supporting my impression of credibility. Disposition, unknown other. So other means we can't verify it as a craft. Unknown UAV would see if we saw something solid, it's a craft. Other means we can't necessarily see that. So that's all of our old cases. So now these are the new cases. So I'm going to go a little more line by line through these because you haven't seen these before. So, and we've got, well, let's take a look at the next screen. We got 5 cases that came in. 5 cases. The date ranges from the 12th through yesterday. So that submission range, that's the submission range. The range of the sightings was from the 25th through the 4th. So a very short range of time there too. 0 cases of interest. So a case of interest is when a case comes into MUFON, it goes to MUFON Global first, and they take a look at it. If they think it really might be something extraterrestrial, they mark it for us as a case of interest. So we take extra special look at it. We didn't get any of those. 0 ERT cases. An ERT, remember I said EQ for the qualifier? That's an ERT case. The ERT stands for Experiencer Resource Team. So we have there may be witnesses who they might not have seen a craft, they may not have seen an entity, but they feel like something right is not or not right is going on. They might have some missing time, or they might be suspicious of something. They might think they may have an abduction, but they don't know what's going on. So they'll reach out to us, and our ERT team, Experiencer Resource Team, will work with them to help them find maybe a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a therapist or someone to help them find an answer to the questions that they have. They're not really our typical cases. We didn't have any of those. We had 5 cases come in. They're all circles. One was an AN1. So the AN, FB, and MAs, those are what MUFON refers to as ballet classifications. Ballet classifications. That's the way we categorize the information in the sightings that we have. Because if you go back to Project Blue Book, one of the civilian contact for Project Blue Book was J. Allen Hynek. And so J. Allen Hynek had an assistant named Jacques Vallée. So as they were gathering all these cases for the Air Force, they started gathering and then they started categorizing them. What ones have this in common? What ones have that in common? And they came up with 4 different categories for the sightings that they're seeing. And then from those categories, they developed 5 different levels of the categories. So I'm sure everybody's heard of this one Vallée classification, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's not just a movie, that's an actual Vallée classification that came out of Project Blue Book. So the classifications, the categories are, AN stands for anomaly, FB stands for flyby, MA stands for maneuver, and CE stands for close encounter. And all those have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to look at 1 AN1. So MUFON defines an AN1, an anomaly of the first kind, as anomalies that do not have lasting physical effects, such as amorphous lights or unexplained explosions. So there's not really any evidence, it's just there and it's gone kind of thing. We're going to look at 1 FB1. So MUFON defines an FB1. It's a flyby of the first kind. It's a simple sighting of a UFO flying by in the sky. It's the category most frequently reported. And then we've got 3 MA1s. So MA stands for maneuver. So we have 3 maneuver of the first kind. We're going to see 3 of those. And MUFON defines a maneuver of the first kind as gathers those UFO observations that involve an object with a discontinuous trajectory, such as a drop, a maneuver, or a loop. So something that your average plane or helicopter couldn't do, some type of maneuver in there. So, and the thing about this is 5 is a low number for us for this amount of time. And it's even kind of misleading because one person submitted 1 case, one person submitted the other 4. So we're not even talking about 5 unique witnesses. We're talking about 2 unique witnesses. And the person that submitted the 4 are from Victoria in Carver County. So it's not even his first go around. So they're going to see a little, so there's a lot of kind of interesting or unusual things happening this month. So, but let's take a look at these cases. So case number 1, the first case is number 142007-U, so U for UFO, took place on April 25th of this year at 10 p.m. A circle was seen FB1, a flyby of the first kind in Victoria, Carver County. So the guy from the updates, I've seen these formations pass through the same spot the last 2 weeks. That's the entire short description. Now the detailed description, people can write really, 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 really long detailed descriptions. And when they do, I like give synopsises. This is his entire detailed description. I've been seeing these formations moving at least 10,000 miles per hour the last 2 weeks through the same spot. So remember, he's submitted a lot before, and he submitted 4 this month. So Bill Ending is working on that one. It's currently in progress. And that's the thing, when someone submits multiple cases to us, we generally give all the cases to one investigator, which can kind of seem like it overloads the investigator, but you're not having the witness being bombarded by like multiple field investigators contacting them. So it kind of helps the witness, but can kind of be a burden on the field investigator if there's a lot of cases. So Bill's working on that. It's in progress. When we complete it, I'll show you it in an update in a future meeting. And I'll say too, so for the 4 that he submitted this month, he submitted probably about a half a dozen, maybe 8 different videos. All of them but one have like some sort of codex on it that my computer can't read, but one we can read. So once I go through all the cases, I'm gonna show you one video that this guy submitted for one of his cases. So let's go to case number 142139-U, so -UFO. Took place on May 3rd, 2025 at 9:42 p.m. A circle was seen, AN1 anomaly of the first kind in Richfield. So this is not the same guy, this is a different guy. So a hovering, bouncing object object below the moon. 4 of us noticed the hovering, bouncing object below the moon. We watched it for about half hour in Richfield, Minnesota. 2 hours later, my wife and I drove home to Minneapolis and still saw the object in the sky below the moon. We tried astronomy apps to see if it could be explained as some type of celestial body, and nothing came up. I also used my flight radar app to see if it was a plane, and nothing came up. It was truly a bizarre event. So Steve Hero and Mark Toffel right here is currently working on it. It's in progress. I don't have the video for this one, but Mark just happens to have the video. But
yeah, I've talked to the guy who saw the thing, and we have the photographic evidence of what they saw at the friend's house, but we don't have any evidence of what they say they saw later.
And if you're really, 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 really nice to Mark, when we go on break, maybe he'll show you the video he's got on his phone. Maybe he won't, depends on how nice you are, but I don't want to speak for you, or speak for Mark, so. But anyways, so that one, once Mark and Steve complete that one, we'll give you an update on what the conclusion with that case was. So case number 142141-U took place on May 3rd, 2025 at 10:20 p.m. Circle was seen, MA1, so maneuver of the first kind. Again, Victoria, Carver County. So we've got that same witness. His short description is the whole thing. I have over 80 videos of last night. He didn't submit all 80 videos. He submitted a handful, but he didn't submit all 80. The skies were literally full last night, and I need serious help here. Can't keep up with what's happening here. So, and that's his full detailed description too. Bill Anding, again, is working on that. It's in progress. When Bill completes it, we'll show you what how he resolves it in a future meeting. So case number 142143-U took place again on May 3rd, 2025 at 10:09 p.m. Circle was seen, MA1, so maneuver of the first kind in Victoria, Carver County, against the same witness. I witnessed at least 1,000 UFO craft last night. At least 1,000 UFO craft last night. So his full description was these objects were all over the skies last night. I was also seeing and recording the orbs in deep space flashing at me. I need help here, please. And I think this is the one where we've got the video. I think this is the one we have the video, but Bill's working on that. When he completes it, we'll show you what he concludes on that one. So case number 142156-U took place on May 4th, 2025 at 10 p.m. A circle again seen. MA1 maneuver of the first kind in Victoria, Carver County. We got the same witness again. It was closer to me and checking me out. These objects are attached to me, I think. That's all he said. That's all his details he's got. So Bill Anding is working on that. It's in progress. When it completes it, we'll show you what he determined. So, but let's take a look at that video. So Eric's all ready to show you the video, I think. So Eric, take it away. Let's see that video. But see how they're moving in unison. That's gonna be stars. There's that. Yep. And I believe in one of his first cases, he said he's using night vision goggles. That doesn't look like night vision, but it actually could be, I suppose. I don't think he drops any F-bombs. We'll see if he drops an F-bomb. Okay, so that's, I don't know if we want to, maybe back it up again and show the first few seconds again, because it was kind of choppy. Yeah, max it up and go all the way back to the beginning. So there's that one. This is obviously not the stars in the background. That was actually something moving. For quite a bit, because he's moving that camera quite a bit to keep up with it, so.
This is Long Carper's going.
Yeah, that's that same Victoria one, so. Yeah, you can shut it off, though. Okay, so once Bill finishes up with that one, we'll go back to, we'll revisit this one and tell you what Bill has determined, so. Okay, and that's what's up in Minnesota for this month. We're actually finishing up a little bit early. So Kevin Briggs will be presenting Spiritual Consciousness, A Personal Journey. So Kevin Briggs is an author and specializes in consciousness and the connection to ET and UFOs. His recently published book is titled Spiritual Consciousness, A Personal Journey, and covers 62 years of his ET contact and UFO connections. Kevin speaks to many UFO groups and ET enthusiasts. Kevin has written articles which have been published in The Truth magazine. His published book was also mentioned in Psychic News in the UK and in their editor's Good Read section. He has also written an article about his ET experiences, which have been published in the New Observations magazine. Kevin has also appeared on local radio stations and recently filmed for a TV show, Unlocking Your Limitless Life, hosted by Susan Schatzer and produced by Robin C. Adams from New York. Kevin is also a keynote speaker in Miami at the Free Consciousness and Contact Experiencer Conference, hosted by the Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial and Extraordinary Experiences. Kevin was a speaker at the Consciousness and Contact Conference held in July 2019 at the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. He is also a guest on Whitley Strieber's radio show, Unknown Country, the Karen Swain Show from Australia, the Kevin Moore Show from UK, the Jeff Mara podcast. Kevin also appeared on Melissa Kennedy's TV show, The UFO Women, filmed locally in Florida, and is co-authored with Melissa Kennedy and Edgar Yogi of the recently published book, Tap into Universal Energy, Understanding Cosmic Energy and Consciousness. Kevin was a recent participant in the Robert Bigelow essay competition titled Evidencing Life After Human Physical Death. Kevin's also a member of the Exo Consciousness community founded by Rebecca Hardcastle Wright, www.exoconscioushumans.com. Kevin is a contributing author to the Ray Hernandez book, A Greater Reality, published in CCRI, Consciousness and Contact Research Institute. Kevin also appears in the pilot film and TV documentary series of the same title to be released in 2025, which is the extraordinary story of Ray Hernandez and his contact with our star families. The trailer can be seen at www.agreaterrealitythemovie.com. And all those things he's done, he can add Speaking to Minnesota MUFON to that list now after this. How good is that? He can add that to his list.
Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you, Jared, for the invitation to come and speak to your group. I'm quite honoured, really, to have MUFON request me to come and speak to them. So anyway, I'll try that. But just a brief introduction to myself, really. That bio that you read, I think I need to shorten it now. It's getting longer and longer. But clearly, I've been involved quite a long while now, all my life, really. But only, I'll tell you why I speak out. About 7 or 8 years ago, I was... it was the middle of the night, about 3 o'clock in the morning. I got up to go to the bathroom. I came back from the bathroom and I got into bed. I was about to snuggle down and a bright light appeared outside the bedroom window. It came into the bedroom. It lit it up like a myriad of butterflies, but it was just pure white light. And then 2 beings materialized at the bottom of the bed. I've had lifelong contact with these 2 beings. So I asked them what was the reason for their visit. And they said, Kevin, we want you to write about your lifelong contact with us. We want you to speak about it. And I remember saying to Art, well, I don't mind talking about it, but I'm not a writer. And he said, well, we will continue to guide you. We will continue to teach you, and we'll give you something to include in your book, which they did. But I did ask him, I said, look, because I hadn't spoken out before, although I've got lifelong contact with it, I'm happy with it. I speak to about my brother about it and my wife. And I said, but people won't believe me. And he said, Kevin, it doesn't matter whether people believe you or not. What's important is that you tell your story. I now understand the reason for that, because by speaking out over the past 7 or 8 years, I've met many people, many other experiences that I wouldn't have met. And we each have a small piece of the jigsaw. And when we all get those pieces together, we see the full picture of what's really happening. So I'll start my presentation, fingers crossed if it works. And I'm going to start right at the beginning from being a 3-year-old up until now. And I plan to go for an hour, if that's okay. And then we can open it up to questions and things and just go with the flow, see where it takes us. So let me see if I can get my PowerPoint up first.
Yeah, that's good. That looks good.
Okay, that's full screen for you, is it?
Not quite. If you want to hit the slideshow button on the bottom, that would do it.
Okay, then we'll see how it goes. Okay, so this is the title, Contact and Consciousness in My Life. And really, who is Kevin Briggs? Well, I'm a lifelong contactee. I've had several jobs. When I left school, I started as a technician at the university. And then I left the university after a number of years and became a police officer in the UK for 20 years. I retired from that and moved over to Florida, where I currently live, and set up a business in real estate. So that's really a brief background of just normal everyday jobs, because I'm a normal everyday guy, really, with these extra activities with the extraterrestrials. Now, my journey really started at 3 years of age. When I was 3, my mother engaged a photographer to take some photographs for the family album. The photographer arrived, and I was duly lifted up onto the dining room table for a better elevation for the photograph for the photographer. From this elevation, I looked around the room, and at 3 years old, I realized my conscious energy was in the physical body again. It was like being two people, my physical body, my conscious energy, looking out around the room. And that stayed with me for a long period of time, being this conscious energy in the physical body. And this is the actual photograph that was taken. And that little cardigan there, my mother knitted that for the occasion. She'd washed and brushed my hair. And I didn't know I had that photograph. I was speaking to my brother about the incident, and he said, "Oh, I've got a copy of that photograph for when he got our mother's albums and things." So he sent it to me. So I now use it. So that's the first time I realized I was conscious. There wasn't a great deal that happened after that. But obviously, my childhood encounters continued. And when I was 8 years old, I was always sensitive to the frequencies that surround us. I was taking a bath. It was a Sunday, I remember the day, and I felt this change in the frequency. I looked to my right, and 2 beings appeared. They materialized in the bathroom. Frightened me to death at the time, as you can imagine, as an 8-year-old boy. Both beings were very attractive, one male, one female. They were wearing a blue jumpsuit type garment. They had long blonde shoulder length hair and deep blue eyes. And I said, very attractive, both of them. They were speaking telepathically to one another, which I could understand. Their names are Ort and Dee. Ort is the male, Dee is the female. The female, Dee, said, "Is this the boy?" And Ort said, "Yes." And then she said, "Are you sure this is a boy?" He said, "Yes, this is a boy." Then she questioned him again and said, "But look at him, he's small, he's uneducated, and he's frightened by our presence." And she was correct, I was terrified. Ort replied, "Yes, this is the boy. I will guide him, I will teach him." There was some other conversation, and then they left. As I said, I was that frightened, I daren't get out of the bath. The water went cold, I was shivering. My mother came in to see why I was still in the bathroom. And I told her about the 2 beings, and she said it was just my imaginations. It wasn't. I'm still in contact with them to this day, and I am 71. Ort was true to his word. He has educated me in consciousness and how consciousness can be utilized as a conduit for communication, for travel, for healing, for education, for creation and co-creation. So that's been the main avenue, the main area of the education. And they didn't sit me down in the classroom or on a craft like I know that they do with other experiences. They actually gave me practical examples of using consciousness itself as the conduit, as I said, for communication, for travel, for healing, for education, creation, and co-creation. Now, this drawing here, my wife, I described them to my wife, and she drew them for me. And I think that particular drawing appears in my book, Spiritual Consciousness. So this is Dee on the right-hand side, the female, and Art, the male, on the left-hand side, as it's shown on my screen here. So the blue colour on the right-hand side was more or less the colour that they had on their jumpsuit. The other one's a little bit paler. My next encounter, I would be 9 years old. Nothing happened for a year. And then I'd had some friends around to play. We were playing board games. It was a Sunday again. And then it was time for them to go home for their tea. So we packed up the board games and they left. I showed them out the back door. And as I turned back into the house, into the home, I felt this frequency again, the frequency in the home that wasn't there before. So I went looking for it. I went into the living room, into the kitchen, upstairs into the 3 bedrooms, and then back down into the living room, because that's where the frequency was the strongest. I was drawn towards the window, and I looked behind the drapes and the curtains, and there was an orb there. And this orb is, it was just like this orb in this photograph here. It was orange, yellow, golden in color. It was slightly vibrating. There was no communication with it, but I didn't know what it was. I had no idea then. I do now know what it is, but I didn't then. I was a bit perturbed because I thought I'd attracted it into the home and my mother would be annoyed with me if she saw it. So I thought, well, when I go to bed this evening, it will disappear. And when I get in the morning, up in the morning, it won't be there. I woke in the following morning after going to bed, and I knew it was still there. I could feel the frequency. I went downstairs and it was behind the curtain, still there. No communication. So then I thought, well, I'll go, when I go to school, when I come back home, it will have left. So I went to school that day, came back about 4 o'clock, opened the back door, and I knew it was still there. I could feel the frequency. So I didn't, I went to look behind the curtain and it was there. To cut a long story short, it was there all week until Friday. I came home from school on Friday. I opened the back door and I knew that it had disappeared. So I went to look behind the curtain in the living room and it wasn't there. But from that day on, I was able to leave my physical body and travel myself as a pure conscious energy orb, as you see here. I didn't know the full potential of that then as a 9-year-old. I do now. But as a 9-year-old, I would just use it. I would leave my body, I relax, open my mind, leave my body and travel over to Liverpool, where my grandparents lived, about 70 miles away from where I lived in Wakefield. I would enter through the roof. And I would sit upstairs. They had a dressing room off the master bedroom. I would sit in this chair as a pure conscious energy orb, looking down through the opaque floor. It was opaque. My grandmother was usually in the kitchen on a Sunday cooking the Sunday dinner, and my grandfather either watching TV or reading the newspaper. And it gave me great pleasure to do that. I now know that the orb that was in my home for that week or Sunday to Friday was the pure conscious energy orb of Art, the Arcturian who materialized in my bathroom when I was 8 years old. Now, the picture on the left-hand side are my grandparents. They're the people that I used to go and visit. So really, it's a continuation of the journey. But I do know now, I didn't then, that our DNA is encoded with light frequencies. And I suspect when Art was in my home for that week, he activated those light frequencies within my DNA, allowing me to travel outside of the physical realm, outside of the physical body. I wasn't aware of the full potential. I am now, because I'm still able to do that. And I've traveled with Art and Dee on many occasions as pure conscious energy orbs. So that's one way that they would educate me, which would be out of body. Again, as I said, not sat down in the classroom and teaching me things. Now, I mentioned where I lived. I was born in Wakefield in the UK. And when I had a paper round, I was 14. This is my next encounter here. Yes, it is. When I was 14, I lived in Wakefield. And when I would go down to collect the papers, there was a UFO above the house as I walked out the house. And then as I'm going down to the paper store to collect the papers, the second UFO would appear. They'd follow me around the paper round, and then when I'd finished the paper round, one would go back in the direction it had come from, and the second one would always go straight up into space. And this was a common occurrence. And while the craft were there, I was always, again, sensitive to these frequencies. There was a frequency behind the hedge, behind the wall. And on one day, I plucked up courage and I said, I know you're there. Can you show yourself? And two small grey beings stepped out from behind the hedge, behind the wall. I wasn't frightened. I said, what do you want? They said, well, there's a group of people that would like to meet with you. I said, would you go with us? I said, well, I don't think so. No, I've got my paper round to finish, and then I've got to go to school. I'd nearly finished the paper round anyway. Well, they said, you can finish your paper round, and then we'll have you back in time for school. So I agreed to go with them. And I was transported in a small craft up to a mothership. Now, I only know that it was a mothership because when we pulled into the hangar itself was the size of 2 football stadiums side by side with all these different craft. And it was quite interesting that as we moved out of the craft into the hangar, when we were walking towards a main door to take me into the main craft, there was another small grey working on a craft, and he waved at me. So I waved back just to be polite. I've met him since. I know him now. His name is Tia. He's a pilot, and he maintains his own craft that he flies people around from A to B. So I was led into an amphitheater. This amphitheater was full of all these different delegates, just like we would have here with the UN or a Congress or whatever. And at the front, there were 8 beings. I was escorted down to the front and introduced to these 8 beings. I thought I was there at that time as a human specimen to be paraded. I wasn't frightened. I was a bit apprehensive, but I wasn't frightened. And I was introduced to these beings, and they were sat behind a table. And these are representations of those beings that a friend of mine, Kathleen Marden, did for me. Now, we'll start with the O and D, because they were the 2 that were materialized in my bathroom when I was 8. I recognized them. They were the first 2 I was introduced to. And then there was Anna. She's the blue bird type being. She was very empathic. I liked her quite a lot. And then Zark, the small grey there, I've got to know him quite well. He's a mathematician and engineer. He designs propulsion systems. He has 3 offsprings, he tells me, and he's from the Pleiades system. And he messes with my wife very often. She'll put things down in the home and he will move them. She'll put something down on the countertop, turn away, go back to pick it up, and he's moved it 4 or 5 feet away. Or the sun's shining in and she'll close the blind because it's blinding her. And then when she turns around, he closes the blind again. And then on one occasion, he moved all her shoes in our walk-in closet and lined them all up from toe to heel along the baseboard. And I asked him, did you pick the shoes up physically and line them up like that? He said, no, I moved the atoms in space-time dimension. So clearly, and then I also asked him why he moved my wife's stuff around the home. And he said he liked teasing her. He thought it was funny, but there was a serious side, and the serious side was to let her know that we are here, we are amongst you. And now they reach out to my wife, Sandy, and a bit later on in this presentation, I'll show you a craft that my wife took a photograph of while I was communicating with the pilot. So where have we got up to now? Ra. Now, Ra's depicted here by a blue energy orb. Some people see him as a blue energy orb. I see him as an ancient Egyptian when I see him. And sometimes I see him with wings. I know quite a bit about him in respect that he's a 9th dimensional being. He was in the physical realm when in our ancient Egyptian times. And I have a picture here. This is how I see him. The bottom picture here, this is how he shows himself to me. as an ancient Egyptian, sometimes with wings, sometimes without the wings. And I know others that have seen him as well now. So, and then after that, we've got Targ. He's the tall grey. And he told me that he was responsible not only for the security of this Council of Eight, but he was responsible for the security of this quadrant of the galaxy. And I had never thought about the galaxy being separated into different quadrants before. And then next was Chica. I was a bit perturbed about Chica because he's a tall mantis being, just like the mantis beings we have here. I have them in my yard here. They come around occasionally, but a full size, over 6. He was sat down, but I could tell he was over 6 feet tall. I was a little bit perturbed by him. And then I think lastly was Orla. She was a tall white. She had a very pale complexion and her hair was actually translucent. And she told me she was an astrobiologist. I still have contact with all 8 of these today. And it's mainly been Orton D. They have been the guides and the teachers. And then there's another, because really what we're doing, we're transcending from the nuts and bolts of the craft to who's flying them, who they are, why they're here. We're moving on to higher levels of consciousness and having an understanding of that so we can communicate with them at their level of consciousness. Now, there's another being, again, in the exo-conscious realm, shall we say, the higher realms. Shiva, she's a 9th dimensional being. She doesn't have a physical, and she sits at the right-hand side of Ra and oversees this Council of 8. And she's a great healer. I've introduced her to others now, a good friend of mine, Dr. Melanie Barton, and now they're working together in healing chambers and able to heal people. Now, these are abilities that we have, we're not aware of, because I don't know whether they've been hidden from us on purpose or whether we're just still evolving as a species. I suspect the latter. We're still evolving as a species. So that would be this group, this Council of 8, that I've had a lifelong contact with. So let's see what next slide is. Oh, I've just gone down now with pictures of 2 of them together, just to say who they are, what they are. They're 5th dimensional beings, Arcturians from Andromeda, they tell me, and they are guides and teachers. And all these were drawn for me by my friend Kathleen Marden. And then Zark, a scientist, I said that, is a mathematician and an engineer. He has a sense of humor. His energy is very high, and he resides in the 5th or 6th dimension. And again, the dimensions are just frequencies of consciousness. I think last year or a couple of years ago, they gave me an equation for calculating the frequencies of consciousness themselves. And that equation is published in Ray Hernandez's book, A Greater Reality, Volume 5. So if we've got any scientists here, anybody interested in that, that equation is there. So really, once we understand that the dimensions are frequencies of consciousness, and then we can access those frequencies, like tuning into a radio station, then we can communicate with them using consciousness as the conduit. So, which is really how they've educated me with an understanding of consciousness itself. And then just a single photograph of, I don't know much about her. I've only met her a couple of times, but she was very empathic and she was a healer. Chica, I've met him a few times, and I have a sense of humor myself. And I said to him on one occasion, I said, "Are you an entomologist?" Because he's an insect. And he gave me that look, you know, when you're a young child and your mother gives you a look when you say something that's inappropriate. He gave me that look, but he's very well respected by this group, very well respected by others. So, yeah. But as I say, I haven't had a great deal of contact with him. And then Tag, the tall grey, again, I haven't had a great deal of contact with him other than the initial contact. But the next thing now, obviously I've got contact with these. I've developed my telepathic ability with them. That's been part of the education. And when I receive a telepathic communication, I also receive a visual image. And that visual image is as clear as I'm watching this screen now. And within the information, within the telepathic communication, are the emotions of the person that's directing that information towards me. But we all have these abilities as humans. They're human abilities that have been developed with the assistance of R&D. Now, coming forward now, quite a long way. A few years ago, about 7, 8 years ago, I was asked to go down to a MUFON conference by the Council of 8, by R&D. And the conference was in Orlando. And I wasn't too bothered about going, really. I'm not too interested in the nuts and bolts of the craft and things. But they asked me to go down there. So I went down there. And I thought, well, I hope I meet someone that can help me on my journey while I'm there. It was a Saturday, and I went to all the lectures. I was very impressed with the conference. Some great lectures, some amazing people there. There were some engineers, doctors, lawyers even. I mean, the caliber of people, it just amazed me. It's everyday folk like myself. So I really enjoyed it. I got to lunchtime, and I went to the cafeteria or the canteen to get a sandwich for my lunch. I bought my sandwich, and there was nowhere to sit. So I saw one seat left on a table with 2 ladies. And one of those ladies was Dr. Melanie Barton. So I asked if I could sit down at that table, and they said yes. The 2 ladies continued their conversation until I'd finished my sandwich, and then they brought me into the conversation. I know now, I didn't then, the person I was meant to meet there was Dr. Melanie Barton. She's the first one here with the auburn hair. And that's me on the left. And and then I met Denise Stoner. She was having an experiencers meeting. So I went to that because I'd never met anybody else that had contact with extraterrestrials and things. So that was very interesting. I enjoyed that. And then later on in the afternoon, Kathleen Marden was doing a presentation, and I watched that. It was very good. And then a meeting was arranged to have lunch with Denise Stoner, Kathleen Martin, and Dr. Melanie Barton. Kathy just lives about 10 minutes from where I live. Denise is about an hour or so away, and Dr. Melanie Barton comes down from Tallahassee, I think. So we met, we had lunch, and after we'd finished lunch, Kathleen Marden invited me and the others back to her home to continue the discussion. And that was very convenient because, as I said, I'm only 10 minutes away. And we went to the home, and then I started giving them information that had been given by the extraterrestrials. And Denise said, "Kevin, do you know what you're doing?" I said, "No, what am I doing?" She said, "You're channeling information." And all I was doing, I thought, was just repeating the information verbatim as they had given me. She said, "No, you're channeling." So from that meeting, we decided to meet at my home once a month on a Saturday. And the first meeting was very interesting because there's me, Dr. Melanie Barton, Denise Stoner, Kathleen Marden, and my wife sat in my home. And Melanie said, "We're going to do a meditation and see if we can communicate with the extraterrestrials." So Melanie did a meditation, and then she asked everybody, "Did you get any communication?" She went around the room. They all said, "No, no." "What about you, Kevin?" I said, "No, I didn't get any communication." So then she said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Well, I haven't got any communication, but I know there's a male stood in front of me. I can feel his frequency. I'm sensitive, and I knew the frequency was male." And Melanie said to me, "Well, who is it?" I said, "I don't know. I haven't got any idea." She said, "Well, ask him." So I asked him, and he spoke through me for 40 minutes. And that was Art. And that was the first time that I channeled anybody, anything at all, really. And I was exhausted after that. But then we met once a month on a Saturday at my home, and we asked questions of this group, this Council of 8, and I channeled the information. It was recorded and transcribed. And I think Denise Stoner measured the air temperature immediately around my body when I was channeling, and it rose anything from 7 to 10 degrees. Now, Kathleen Marden last year published a book with some transcripts from those questions, over 100 questions with the answers direct from the extraterrestrials, from this Council of 8. So if you're interested in that, you can get Kathleen, many of you might already have it anyway, Forbidden Knowledge by Kathleen Marden. And I say there's over 100 questions in there that we asked over this 2-year period, and there's more as well. But so if you're interested in that, that was the reason, I believe, why I was asked to go down to the conference, the MUFON conference in Orlando. So to meet Dr. Melanie Barton and then Denise and Kathleen Madden. And I believe Denise and I know Kathleen was a member of the ERT team for MUFON for many years. So clearly they wanted me to connect with MUFON for some reason. Oh, this was, I think, similar to the thermometer that Denise used to measure the temperature immediately around, the air temperature immediately around. Oh, I did ask them, why do I get hot? Why does the temperature increase? And they said it was because of the frequencies of consciousness that we resonate at. When it comes through your body, it creates that heat. So I think. Now, I've got this photograph in here. I don't know if you can see it. It's only small. But very often they contact me in many different ways. So there are many modalities of contact. And so I was out one day and it was a clear blue sky. I live in the country. I've got 5 acres. And the sky was so clear. I thought, well, I'll take a photograph. I got my camera out. And as I did, this cloud appeared. So I took a photograph of the cloud. And it wasn't until 2 weeks later, I was going through the photograph. And and I say it was a completely clear sky and it just appeared as I was looking up. But then when I zoomed in on it, I can zoom in on here. I don't know if you can see. It had 90-degree angles underneath it. It had a couple of windows and there's a couple of other smaller craft around the edges. If you look at the bottom here, there are 90-degree angles. And I don't think you get 90-degree angles, but they do show themselves, I say, in many different ways. So just really another form of communication. So, and then let's have a look. Right, I'm going to move on down to talking about the rainbows. Very often they'll use rainbows to attract my attention. And they use rainbows, the light frequencies within rainbows, as portals. And on this occasion, it's quite an interesting story. It's just an example of telepathic communication. Now, our usual routine at home in the morning, my wife gets up, she lets the dogs out, she goes and has a cup of tea on the pool deck. I've got a pool here in Florida. And then I get up, I make a coffee, and I go and join her. On this particular morning, I thought, I'll see if I can communicate with the Council of Eight to see what they're doing. So I reached out to them. I wasn't able to connect with them, but I connected with a small craft, a disc craft. And the pilot of that craft was the pilot I mentioned earlier, who I met when I was 14. His name is Tia. And as I said, when I have the telepathic communication, I see the visual inside the craft, just like watching a TV screen. And I said, what are you doing here? He said, well, we've deviated off our flight path to come and see where you live. And in the craft, there were 2 rows of seats behind him, and they were full of small greys that he was transported from A to B. We had some other conversation, and then he said, I'll have to leave because, as I said, I'm off my designated flight path. So he left. We said our goodbyes. And then I got dressed. I went out and sat next to my wife with my coffee. And my wife said, the most beautiful rainbow appeared this morning. I said, did you get a photograph of it? She said, yes, I did. Then she said, but you won't guess what happened next. I said, no, what happened next? She said, a craft appeared under the rainbow. It's about 500 feet from where back of our house. And I said, did you get a photograph? She said, yes. So she took this photograph. Now, this is a black and white copy of it. It was slightly blurred, but I asked her, was it blurred when you saw it? She says, no, it was a clear disc metallic shape. And I had a friend put some, I think it was Jason Gleaves, put some filters on these. And within that blurred, you can see that there's some silver disc or silver shape in there. But they do connect with, now they connect with my wife as well. So I'm pleased with that because it really helps me. I do a lot of presentations and things, and it helps because obviously it takes time to do them. That my wife supports me, and now she has her own contact as well. So that's really good. And another example of the rainbow, this is a different story. Bear in mind, we're talking about consciousness really, which incorporates the ETs, which incorporates our deceased family and friends. So we're really expanding our understanding of how to communicate with our star families. On this occasion, this is totally different. This rainbow is at the front of my property. I'm out walking with my dogs. I got 2 German Shepherds, and I take them around the property several times a day. And I'm out walking, and this rainbow appeared, and there was no rain clouds. And you can see it was a good clear day, few clouds. And as I'm walking down there, this voice spoke to me, and this voice was Edgar Mitchell. Now, Edgar Mitchell was the 6th man to land on the moon. I did know of him. I didn't know him, and he introduced himself, and he said, "Kevin, I'd like you to convey a message for me to a friend of mine." I said, "Yeah, what's the message?" He gave me the message, and who's the friend? He said, Dr. Rebecca Hardcastle Wright. I said, right, okay, I'll convey the message. Now, really, this is just an example of telepathic communication. And I know that Edgar is communicating with others now. I've had people tell me. And so I thought, right, how am I going to connect? I've never heard of this woman, Rebecca Hardcastle Wright. I'll ask Melanie Barnes, she'll know. So I phoned Melanie. I said, Melanie, I've been given this message for Dr. Rebecca Hardcastle Wright, but I don't know who she is. She says, oh, I think Kathleen Marden is friends with Dr. Rebecca Hardcastle Wright. So they keep the information within this extended family, as it were. So Melanie got in touch with Kathy. Kathy sent an introductory email to Dr. Rebecca Hardcastle Wright. And within the information was personal information that only Edgar and Rebecca would know. So I gave her that, and it changed the direction. She does speak about it. If you ask her, she will tell you the story. It changed her direction, and now we've become friends, and I have become a member of a exo-conscious community, and that's a community with people like myself who have developed their psychic abilities, their psychic intelligence, their knowing, their intuition, all human abilities, but we have development, and that allows us to communicate with our star families, with our deceased family and friends. And in fact, I had an example with art. When I was 17, I just used traveling out of body I would nip round to see if a friend was home before I walked the 10, 15 minutes to see if he was there and wanted to go out. We didn't have cell phones in them days. So what I would do, I'd leave my body, I'd nip over there, yes, he's in, and then I'd walk round. Another simple use, I worked at the university at the time, and I would catch the bus to work, and there was always 2 different bus stops I could walk to. And very often I'd get there and there'd be a huge line of people. So I would always go out of body as I left my apartment, fly up to both bus stops and see which had the shorter line, and then go to that one. So simple things, or fly behind the bus on the way home on a summer's day because it was pleasurable. But no one ever talked about traveling out of body. And to me, it was just normal. I've been doing it since 9 now. So I thought I'll ask Art. So this day I went to bed that night. I relaxed. I opened my mind and I held my hand out. And I said, Art, I know there's a lot more to this. Can you come and show me more? And he came. He took hold of my hand. And we went out through the window. We went round the subdivision, as it were, and back into the window. I could see my body fast asleep. I'd enter my body. The following morning, I woke up and I thought, well, that's cool. I don't know, was I dreaming? Was it real? So the following night, I did exactly the same routine. I relaxed. I opened my mind, held my hand out, and asked Art to come and hold my hand. He came and showed me more. And this time we went down into Leeds city centre. I recognised the university, the town hall, the hospital, and Leeds at that time was a vibrant city with a nightlife, all the people milling about. We came back into the window and I see myself asleep back into my body. So I'm still not convinced. So the third night, and I'm a bit perturbed because I'm 3 stories up and it's concrete pavement out of that window. So the third night, exactly the same routine. And he said, right, I said, well, can we go out through the roof? Because I'm not happy about going out through that window. So we went out through the roof. All subsequent journeys were out through the roof and we traveled extensively together. And then on one occasion, he came to me and said, Kevin, I'm going to take you somewhere special tonight. Are you prepared to go with me? I said, yes. So we set off, bear in mind, out of body, out through the roof. and I saw the blue earth getting smaller, not unlike the picture behind me, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And we went into a higher dimension. Bearing in mind those dimensions are only frequencies of consciousness. When we entered that dimension, there was a line of 30 people. At the front of the line was my deceased father, and he was stood tall, 6 feet tall. I never seen him standing because he was in a wheelchair from when I was born. He greeted me, and the love that emanated from these people was just tremendous, overwhelming. He said, Kevin, I'm going to introduce you to your family going back over 30 generations. I went down the line, I was introduced. They told me who they were, what their last incarnation was, what job they did, what interests they have. And then when I got down to the 15th person, instead of seeing an individual, I saw a pure conscious energy orb. They could still give me the visual of who they were, what their last incarnation was, and we communicated telepathically. I went down the line and back up again. We did that. I did that a few times with Art till I got to the position where I was very comfortable and I could do it on my own. And this was really an experience to understand that consciousness survives the physical, so we can communicate with our deceased family and friends. So that was a very interesting lesson for me. I was used to traveling on my own, but then I obviously traveled further with Art, and I've got some other, if we get time, or some other stories in relation to traveling out of body on the astral plane with Art D on a conscious craft. If we get to that position, we might do. Now, again, we're really looking at the spiritual side of who we are, linked with the extraterrestrials, linked with the craft. And this, I was invited to be a speaker at the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. And while we were there, we were invited to a very sacred ceremony. And while I was there, I was meditating myself and giving thanks and gratitude for being allowed to attend the sacred ceremony. And while I was there, this man appeared to me. The picture on the left is what I saw. And he's Peter Catchers. He's the 38th generation man of the Lakota. And he spoke to me. He greeted me. I'd never seen him before. I didn't know who he was. But because I've developed the psychic abilities, the psychic intelligence, he was able to communicate with me as Edgar did. And then after the ceremony, we went back to the conference. I was speaking about what I'd seen, who I'd spoken to. And I ended up speaking to his wife, Cindy. He'd passed about 3 or 4 months earlier. And Cindy gave me this photograph. And the one on the left is how I saw him with all this light around him. And that's another photo she sent me. But I said to Cindy, I said, well, why didn't he give me his name? Why didn't he tell me who he was? She said, Peter never gave his name to anybody. So, I mean, and I'm still in contact with Peter. He gave me some information for another group in, I think it was Peru, the Rama group. He wanted some information conveying to them. He gave me that information, and that information was conveyed to. I'm really just a messenger in all this, but because I've developed and I must stress, human abilities of understanding consciousness, then they can use me as a conduit for communication. So I think that's all. Look at that one. Yeah, that's probably my last slide now. This is just a copy of my book, which is available on Amazon. I have another book that I wrote with Melissa Kennedy and Edgar Yo. And quite interesting. There's a story in there. Again, it's just an example of communicating using consciousness itself. The plants, the trees, the animals, they're all conscious. They all have a frequency of consciousness. And if you can access that frequency of consciousness, then you can communicate with them, whether they be insects, plants, trees, animals, extraterrestrials, deceased people, all the way up to the divine, I suspect, and the angelic realm. So because they're just frequencies of consciousness. In this book, there's a quick story. I'll tell you this quick story and I'll finish on this. A quick story with my brother. He's a retired aircraft engineer. He had his own business, very successful, lived in the UK. And then when he retired, he moved down to Spain. When I was talking to him one day, I talked to him on a regular basis over Zoom or whatever. on Facebook. And he said, Kevin, you should see the butterflies down here. They're huge, absolutely huge. I said, well, why don't you go out onto your balcony? Because his balcony overlooks the Mediterranean. He's got a nice view there. And when a butterfly comes past, ask it to land on your hand. This is an example of using consciousness as a communication. So he said, they won't do that. I said, well, indulge me. Just go out and ask. So he went outside. I said, right, hold your hand out. So he held his hand out like that. I said, right, when a butterfly comes past, ask it to come and land on your hand. But you need a reason. And the reason is you want to look at the beautiful colours on its wings. So a butterfly came into sight. He asked it. It kept flying by. It flew out of sight, turned around, came back, and landed on his fingers. And I think there's photographs in this book of this story. So I said, right, now what you need to do, you want to ask it to go away and come back with a friend so you can compare the colours on the wings of the friend. So he asked it. And I said, you need that reason, you want to compare the colours. So he asked it, it took off, it flew out of sight, it came back, landed on his fingers, and the second one landed on his forehead. So he compared the colours. On that day, he had 12 butterflies that landed on him. So from being a total skeptic, I now call him the butterfly whisperer. The following day, he said to his wife, Lorraine, come on, Lorraine, let's go out on the balcony and I'll ask the butterflies to come and land on you. I've got photographs of this. So I think he was showing off. I think he was showing off to his wife. So he went outside, a butterfly came past. He asked it to come and land on his wife. One landed on her glasses here and two landed on her arm. And it got several photographs. So really that's just a simple example of using consciousness as the conduit for communication, not only with our plants, trees and animals, but with our extraterrestrials. And the way they taught me about telepathic communication, they would wake me up at say 111 in the morning, give me a telepathic message. I would then get out of bed, I would walk into my bathroom. From my bathroom, I can see a street light. I said, look, you've just woke me up at 111. Give me this message. You know, if it's come from you, can you turn that street light off? And the street light goes off immediately. And then they've woke me up at 222, 333, exactly the same. And then they've woke me up when it's been daylight and give me a telepathic communication. And I said, look, you just give me this information and it's daylight now. Can you turn that street light on so I know the information's come from you and the street light comes on immediately? And when you do that all your life, they also give me downloads of scientific material about the quantum unified field theory. Perhaps I can discuss that some other time. But on that occasion, I said, look, you've just given me an equation and an understanding of the quantum unified field theory, which I know nothing about. Can you show me a craft to confirm the information's come from you? Craft appeared immediately outside my pool cage. I went in to get my wife to witness it. She came out. The second one appeared, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 appeared in total, flew silently over our heads, and then disappeared sequentially as they had arrived. And then on another occasion, they gave me some information about the theory of everything, which I didn't know. And I said, look, can you show me a craft? Because I don't know whether this information has come from you or it's my imagination. And the craft appeared immediately and flashed 1, 2, 3 times. And I've got many examples of that. And once you learn to trust and understand the difference between telepathic communication, your own thoughts, then we can all learn to do this. So I think I'll stop it there because I've covered lots of different areas. I could keep going on talking, but you might have some questions and we can take it from there. I hope that was helpful to everybody.
What was the name of the group you said you belonged to?
Or the exo-conscious community. If you go on to www.exoconscioushumans, don't forget the s.com, and they're a group of people like myself, and it's founded by Rebecca Hardcastle-Wright, who worked with Edgar Mitchell in noetic sciences before he passed. And obviously Edgar was the sixth man on. But Edgar's still communicating with others. I know that he is because people get information. But that's because Edgar had an understanding of consciousness. He was doing his conscious experiments on his way to and from the moon, unbeknown to NASA, but he was. And because I had developed those abilities, That's why he connected with me. And then obviously with a view to connecting with Rebecca herself. And I say now we've become friends and we meet once a week as a group and we discuss what's happening, what we're going to do, what can we do, just interesting discussions. And recently, last year, the Council of Eight wanted to speak directly with the exo-conscious community. So I did a channel, it was by Zoom, it was a group in Scottsdale got together, and then a group in Florida here, and Ra, he channeled through me. And I know the movie that Ray Hernandez has got coming out shortly, A Greater Reality, there's a channel in there. I did a conference or part of a channel, and then we did a channel at Kathleen Marden, and that's going to be in the movie as well, and the TV documentary series. So really, we're expanding our knowledge, our understanding of our extended star families, really, and we need to do that if we are going to reach out to them and communicate with them at their level of consciousness. So I think it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, can people join the Exo-Conscious Humans group?
Yes, it's free to join. If you want to join a coaching group, I think it's $8 a month if you want to join a coaching group. But if you just want to read the newsletters and watch the videos and things, I've got a YouTube channel. There's lots of information on there where we discuss things. So it's www.exoconscioushumans, don't forget the S.com.
Cool.
In fact,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, a friend of mine, Aurora Belcia, she attended a CE5 group in Orlando here, and she's not an artist. And then she was contacted by this Council of Eight, the same council, and she's now channeled the portraits as she was given them. The ones that Kathleen Marden did are representations. The one that Aurora Belcia has were actually channeled portraits, and she's never been able to draw in her life. She said she couldn't even draw a stick figure. But within those portraits is a description of how she channeled the information, what they said to her. And within the portraits themselves are energies of consciousness that if those people who watch it, it's important to them, they'll see that. So if you go onto gallery, you'll see all those pictures that have been channeled by Aurora. But what I find interesting is they're actually reaching out to other people now. There's another book here that came out just recently, Quantum Windows and Dimensions, by a lady called Rebecca Renfro. And in here, she talks about her contact with Orton D. And so really they are reaching out to others now. Obviously, I've had a lifelong contact with them, but it's great to see that they are reaching out. And I know they're reaching out to individual members of the exo-conscious community. So we have now a group of individuals, and they're reaching out to them independent of me. They're just reaching out. But then that's because the people within that group, or a lot of them, have developed their, and I always stress this, human abilities of understanding consciousness, the psychic abilities, the psychic, and we all have them. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to just, I'll phone my brother, I'll phone so-and-so. And as I phone, the phone rings and they're phoning me. So we do use them, but we tend to, we rely on the five senses rather than the other senses that we have.
Cool. It's funny you'd say that Orton D are reaching out to other people, because I was at a conference a number of years ago and Travis Walton was doing a presentation. I took a picture of some of the slides, and when you put that first picture of Orton D up there, reminded me of this picture I took, which bears a striking resemblance to the Orton D that you had in your picture. I don't see that very well. So
yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I saw that. And even down to the blue jumpsuits, like they look the same people. So
yeah, well, Richard Dolan, he tells a story. I've heard him tell this story before, where a lady at a conference comes up to him and she said, I want to tell you this story. She said, she was a child when this happened to her, about a 14-year-old child. I'm sure if you know Richard Dolan, I don't know him, but you could reach out to him. And in the church, they were doing a service, and there were two very attractive, male and female, stood in front of this 14-year-old. Very strangely dressed, shall we say, very smart. And they were speaking telepathically to one another. And the young girl behind, Richard tells this story, the young girl behind was listening in. And the two people I know now were Orton D. They told me that. And they said to one another, we could fit in here very well. They don't know we're here. And then Dee said, no, except for the 14-year-old girl behind us. When the service finished, she followed these two people out of the church, across the parking lot, and they disappeared into a forest. But I've been told by Aunt Dee that was them. So, but Richard Dolan doesn't know that. I haven't told him that. But so they are out and about. They are reaching out to people. So yeah, just really, and I'm sure there are others as well. They have told me there are many other councils all reaching out. So yeah, but it's the next step. I think the next step of the evolution. But Kathleen Marden's book is excellent in relation to the questions that we asked with the answers and the questions that anybody would ask. You know, normal people that are not interested in the subject would ask if they had the opportunity to ask an extraterrestrial, possibly. So yeah, I can recommend that book.
Any questions for Kevin?
Hi, Mike.
A couple of questions. That any of your relatives had experiences like parents or siblings or children?
No, not that I'm aware of. My brother hadn't had any at all. He knew from childhood because I used to talk to him about it, but he could never see anything. He never had any contact. In fact, the story with the butterflies, that's really his first example of accessing consciousness. And he now does it all the time because he's realized that he can do that. And that's a very small step, but it is a step in relation to understanding how we're all connected through that consciousness itself.
And I'm curious too, when you talk about the dimensions of the different species, like different levels of dimension, like you talked about, I'm curious, I've heard that before, but when you say that, do they tell you what dimension they are, or?
Yeah, in the past, yes, they've told me what dimension they're from. And they're all really from the fifth. I think Zark might be from the sixth, but all from the fifth, apart from Ra, he doesn't have a physical now. He's just purely in the spiritual realm, shall we say, at those higher levels. But he does tell me he can incarnate if he wants to do that.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Do you ask them, and they tell you, or they just volunteer that right off the bat?
Oh no! If I ask them a question, they'll give me the answer. Yes, yes.
But do they, when they tell you their dimension, do you ask them first the answer, or do they present themselves that way right off the start?
Well, sometimes the answers come out within the questions that you ask them in relation to. I can't remember all the questions now. There were so many, but yeah, if you ask a question, sometimes those answers come out within the questions that you've asked.
It kind of seems like a lot of them. That's how they identify themselves, or introduce themselves.
No, they don't say, "Oh, I'm Art. I'm from the fifth dimension." You know, it's bits of information that I've gleaned over the years, as it were, with asking questions. But I'm now in a position where I can communicate with them and have a conversation with them in relation to. In fact, I was contacted recently by a leading scientist in consciousness. Unfortunately, he's passed now, Sperry Andrews. I think he was part of a team that was nominated for a Nobel Prize for the work in consciousness that the group had done. And he contacted me. He saw me on, I think, Jeff Maurer podcast. And he said, Kevin, can you ask? We had a good conversation about his theories of consciousness, lifelong work. And my practical experiences dovetailed with his theories. So we had some great conversations. And then one day he contacted me and said, Kevin, can you ask Orton D what they know about the void, VOID, void? I hadn't heard anything about the void. I didn't know what it was. I asked. They gave me an equation for the void of consciousness. And they said that the void of consciousness is not void as the name suggests. It's full of possibilities, full of potential, full of intentions. And it's where we create and co-create through thought and consciousness. But it's a part of the collective consciousness, but it's the area where we co-create. And the equation I gave to Sperry, and he understood the equation. I didn't, but he did. But then interestingly, when Aurora channeled the portraits of Zark, and Zark's the mathematician engineer, she received the equation for the void of consciousness, and it's embellished on his t-shirt. So, and both of those are in Ray Hernandez's book. I've got a copy somewhere. I don't know, of a greater reality. So, so if you're interested in those two equations, if you're a scientist, it's in volume 5.
Okay, thanks.
Kevin, thanks so much for being here, man. It's really good to see you again, for sure.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's nice to get the information out or being asked to share it. And without
Oh.
people like yourselves, I can't share the information. So I should be thanking you. So thank you very much.
Oh, you can thank Tom. He's the ringleader in this.
Oh, okay then. Thanks, Tom.
So this is a real quick question, and I know this is kind of a basic one, but can you explain the differences between the dimensions?
Well, what they told me was if you look at it like a cell, each cell has a frequency. Even the Earth has a frequency. I don't know what it vibrates at. So we all have frequencies. And obviously these frequencies of consciousness depict what life forms are in there. And this is why they said that when I channel, I'm channeling a higher frequency and my body's not able to stand it. So it raises the temperature of the body, which heats the air immediately around my body. So yeah, and I'm sure actually I've read that equation and I have an understanding of what they're saying within the equation in relation. I don't know whether our scientists will understand it yet, but I understand it from my perspective of how those frequencies are. So say you've got, I'm sure if you have, take an animal here, a dog, I'm sure its cells resonate at the same frequencies as mine and all the other animals within this dimension. If you go to the higher dimension, just the 5th, then I suspect the people that live there, which will be Orc D, they're at a higher frequency. And that's why they gave me the equation, I suspect, so that it can be brought into our scientific community, they can understand it, and then we can work from there, really.
Awesome.
And the co-creation side of it, they also said that all timelines, past, present, and future timelines, are created from the void of consciousness with all the infinite possibilities, infinite potential, infinite intentions. So we can create from that void of consciousness the societies that we desire for our children, our future generations. Once we understand that, and you get a collective consciousness, and I think we've already seen that within the exo-conscious community, because now they're reaching out themselves to the council rate, and the council rate are reaching out to individuals within that group. So it's expanding that collective consciousness. And here we are now talking with MUFON, one of the largest organizations that's been going for many, many years about the council rate. And Kathleen Marden was part of that. And I was asked specifically to go down there. If I hadn't been asked, I wouldn't be sat here talking to you today. So there's clearly an orchestrated journey. I know what my mission is here. It's to help to facilitate the reveal globally of our star family's presence. And I have many experiences I can talk about, explain about, because that's what they've done. But there are many others like me. I am not important in this at all. I've just got a small piece of the jigsaw. But as with any jigsaw, each piece is important. So yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Concepts of our religion and maybe their religion.
Sure. Did you learn anything about concepts about our religion and their religion and the differences or similarities?
Right. Okay. I don't know whether it's one of the questions in this book, but we did ask them if they believed in God. Okay. So they said that, yes, we believe in God, but not as you do in one deity. With your different religions have one deity. We believe in source energy, source consciousness itself. That is our God. That's where all creation comes from. And they also went on to say, because you have a piece of consciousness within you, your frequency within your dimension, you have a piece of God within you as well. So they believed in God, but in a different aspect to what our religions do, whether you be Christian, Muslim, Jewish, or all the other religions we have. They tend to have, not all of them, but they tend to have one or two deities that they worship.
Kevin, I seem to recall that Kathleen Marden, her book, Forbidden Knowledge, either in that book or shortly after she published it, that she quoted the Council of Eight as saying that they would not permit a nuclear war on Earth. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. They've told us that on a few occasions. They've said to, I'm doing this from memory now, they said that if the only time they would interject is if we used our nuclear weapons again. They said, we have got to this level of technology in the past and you have destroyed your societies. We are not going to let this happen this time. And that's the only time that we will intervene. But we have already demonstrated to your governments, your global governments, that we can deactivate your nuclear missiles, we can activate your nuclear missiles, and we can shoot them down at their highest height and velocity. So, and your governments know this. So really they are obsolete in relation to our weapons, but they will step in. And I suspect if our governments do that, and our governments, I don't think, have really come to a decision yet of how they're going to release all this information to the public, and they certainly don't want to use a nuclear weapon and then the ETs just come along and shoot them down, because then they would have a catastrophic disclosure, and I don't think they want that. I mean, we have all the Congress hearings now, so we are moving forward, and hopefully we'll get some more information, and then we're getting to the point where we can invite them. I know Chris Bledsoe, I don't know him personally, but he calls the craft in. There are others that call the craft in, others that have direct contact. If you get a group of all these people together, I know there was a conference in Moscow a few years ago now, and all the delegates were paid for by the Chinese government, who had a conference about the extraterrestrials in Russia, in Moscow. And they paid for all the airfares, all the hotels, all expenses. And I only know because Gary Heseltine went. He was there. And I've heard him speak about it. And the outcome of that conference, there were all the leading scientists from Russia, China, and Europe. And the outcome was to lobby the UN for a protocol to receive our extraterrestrial staff on this. So they're working towards that. There are many reaching out, and hopefully MUFON will take a step forward in that, and they'll start reaching out as well, because there are many within MUFON, I'm sure, who have got their own contact.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I've heard from multiple sources that the aliens have messed with our nukes. They've turned on the green lights where they're gonna fire, and they didn't fire. They couldn't figure that out, why they didn't do that. And they've done that in this country, and they've done it in Russia, and I've heard it from multiple sources. So, so that does seem to be something they can keep us from using our nukes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good thing, and clearly they've demonstrated it. And I'd have to read Kathy's book again. I have all copies of all the transcripts, but there's so much information that came in over that 2-year period, and I'm still getting information. I had some information for the exo-conscious community last week, or sometimes they'll ask a question, and we meet every Thursday, and I will give them the answers. So, and we're working towards that reveal. In fact, we have a planetary constitution that's on the exo-conscious community site. If you go on to planetary constitution, it talks about the experiences and what we need to do to protect ourselves, really, I suppose, with communicating with the extraterrestrials. So it's only a 2-page document, but it was written by the people that understand the legalities of these things within the exo-conscious community. So just go onto the site, and I think it's at the top, and it says Planetary Constitution. So I think that's an important document.
I was wondering if they've talked about the variety of entities in the universe, or our galaxy, part of the galaxy, and how our part of the galaxy might be governed.
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear it all. Can you repeat it, please?
Yep, he wants to know about the different species that are in the galaxy and our part of the galaxy, and how the different species and areas might be governed.
Okay, that's it. Well, I think they have, like, very similar to us, this Council of 8, and they've told me there are a number of councils of 8s. They're like the delegates in our United Nations. So that would depict that they have I don't know if it's a democracy or what, I don't know, but they get together and thrash things out and decide which way to go forward. So I suspect it's very similar to us. As for species, Orton are Arcturian, they look like us. Anna, she's a bluebird type being, I don't know where she's from. Raz, Anunnaki, well, we've all heard of them, the stories about Anunnaki. Tag, tall grey, we all know about them. Chica, mantis bean, I think people have spoken about them. Orla, a tall white, was it Charles Holt? Did a documentary on, and that's an excellent documentary. He's had direct contact with the tall whites. And then I watched Susan Walker talking about the Penty. I'd never heard of the Penty, and she spells it P''NTI, Penty. And after the talk she gave, I thought, I'll see if I can reach out with her. I'll use my telepathic ability. So I reached out to them, and they spoke to me. I saw two Penty. We had a brief discussion and introduction, and then they left. And then I went on to her Susan Walker's website, and she's got pictures of the Penties that she knows. She's had lifelong contact with them. The first two on the website were the two that I spoke to, because they gave me the names, and the names I can't remember them now. But they've reached out to me since and said that they are supporting the reveal of the star families to humanity. So that's good. So we've now got the Council of Eight with different species. We've got the Penty. We've got humanity itself with different groups, like the group that Gary Hesseltine belongs to, that have approached our United Nations. So they have told me the request for the reveal will come from the citizens of Earth. They said they've reached out to our governments in the past, and they are reluctant to act upon it. Let's hope they change their mind and they can take the lead back again, but we'll have to wait and see. But before that happens, we might beat them and ask them to for the reveal, and find a place where we can meet. I know that we've been given permission now by our indigenous people's ancestors to land their craft on sacred land. And there are many areas of sacred land where they could land their craft, and they've been given permission now. So that's another step forward in relation to that. So clearly there's a lot working, and they do tell me that, I know they're benevolent, this particular group. They're here to assist with our evolution, and they tell me that they will share some of their technologies with us to help us clean up the pollution that we have. And they are particularly concerned about the radiation pollution at Fukushima. And they said they've already cleaned it up to some respect, but they could do a lot more if we had open contact. So clearly this particular group are benevolent. I'm sure that's some evil one somewhere. And really, it's just a matter of, and by you sharing this information and get it out to MUFON, like I said, they're one of the largest groups and been going for decades, I think. So yeah, and I find it fascinating that without them asking me to go down there, I wouldn't be sat here talking to you. Kathleen Marden wouldn't have written that book. I wouldn't have met Dr. Melanie Barton. And so yeah, clearly there's a story, and each of us here have a piece of that jigsaw. If we tell one person about what's happening, that's humanity, that's citizens at birth, sharing the information, because once you share that, you're expanding our collective consciousness.
Well, and it's interesting because you said the citizens of Earth must request it, but it almost sounded like that was being interpreted as the governments of Earth. But so is there a way that us, the actual citizens, can circumvent the government to go directly to them and ask for a reveal and like ignore the powers that be altogether? Or how would that happen?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I think what we'd have to do, you would have to get people who have direct contact, and there are quite a few that I've met that have direct contact. If you got all those people together, I don't know how many you would need, and then Chris Bledsoe's contact is amazing. He even has contact with what he calls the White Lady. She'll appear for anybody. Now, I suspect, I don't know whether that's part of the divine or not, I don't know. I'm not in contact with that higher level of consciousness that he is, but clearly he's been taken under the wing of many people. He's doing films and documentaries about it. So say you've got him and several other people globally who have the direct contact. I know our indigenous people have the direct contact with them. They always have had, but they don't speak out about it because of fear of retribution. So yeah, I think we can circumnavigate, and I suspect that because the exo-conscious community now are being reached out to by a number of these extraterrestrials, they may well be part of it to organize it, along with MUFON possibly. They've got a huge membership. And, yeah, I mean, MUFON will have some power in reaching out to the government, I'm sure, because they're very well respected within the UFO community.
Can you tell us the website again?
For the exo-conscious one,
I think so, yeah.
yeah, it's www.exoconscioushumans.com.
And way in the back?
You had a blue avian there. That's only the second time I've ever seen one of those. The other time is Corey Good has had contact with the blue avian. And he got a lot of grief about that and his blue chicken, you know. So apparently you're saying it's a real species out there. And
Yes.
you met them. Do you know anything about his contacts they have with other humans like Corey Good?
I don't have a great deal of contact with Anna, that's her name. She's feathers, very small, tight feathers, and she's an empath. I don't know where she's from, she hasn't told me. But I have heard of others that have contact with a blue bird type species. And bearing in mind, if you look at the different species that we have here on Earth, aren't they really replicating them? Like with the mantis being, very similar to, well, exactly the same as our mantis beings that we have here, only on a different scale, on a different size scale. So I suspect, you know, the whales and the dolphins, they all communicate with one another using telepathic communication. And now we've got the telepathy tapes by Dr. Denise Powell, and she's now with a research found that our autistic children have telepathic abilities, and they meet together and communicate as groups. I don't know if it's sound to body or not, but that's her research. So it shows that we as humans have telepathic abilities. Yeah, we just have to develop them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sounds like we're good on
Amazing.
questions. Yeah, big round of applause.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed making the presentation. It might be a bit way out there for what you're used to listening to, but hopefully it's been a help to someone. Very often, sometimes I give a bit of information and it's a little piece that's missing from someone's, and they are able to move on to the next stage then. So I'm happy speaking to any group or anything. It's the least I can do with all the information that they've given me. So thanks again for inviting me. I do appreciate it.